and they're like, everything's getting locked down. And back then, like, I think they were saying 2 weeks to slow the spread.
Hmm.
So, like, no one knew that it was going to end up being basically like years and years of chaos. But so the retreat comes and grabs you up from the city right before everything gets locked down. And what is the adventure like? Is that like a boat trip or an airplane or a car ride, or
No,
how do you get to
uh,
where you're going?
to get to Iquitos, it was like a boat trip. I landed in Brazil, and this like was like maybe 7th of March, something like that. And it took a boat through Brazil, going down through all the Amazon. My plan was to go until Peru, to Peru by boat, and passing through Brazil, the borders of Brazil, the borders of Colombia, finally Iquitos in Peru. And when I literally, it's like things start to happen very fast, and I'm in the middle of the jungle, and I'm checking my phone when I got into the hotel at night. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like lockdowns. It's like the WHO declares global emergency and all of that. And I'm in the jungle, and literally I left Brazil, and the day when I live in Brazil, the day after they closed Brazil. Same happened with Colombia, and same happened with Peru. I landed in Peru, Iquitos, at 11 p.m., and that night at 8 p.m. they declared the state of emergency. So from that day, nobody could leave the country, nobody can cross borders, except things like that. And then from Iquitos to the retreat, because Iquitos is already in the Amazon jungle. It's a city that is in the middle of the Amazon. You cannot get to that city by road. Only you can get by plane or by boat. It's like an island in the middle of the jungle. But
Yeah.
once you are in the city, you move by, there is only one road. So that road took me to the retreat space that was already in the jungle. So they took me by car, and literally I remember that trip, like in the car, like leaving the city, everybody was packing, there was madness, chaos, people with boxes in the cars buying everything, like. And as I was leaving the city behind with all this noise, because Iquitos is a really noisy city, all this chaos, and then it's like slowly and slowly you start to listen, like kind of the sounds of the jungle, and it's like you are entering into another world, no? It's like, and suddenly you realize where you are in the jungle, in the middle of nowhere, and you realize like, fuck, I'm in the jungle and these things is happening, like in that moment I start to record everything, and I, like all of this adventure is in one of my documentaries. And I go to the jungle at night, like you don't see, so I don't know very well what was that. And the guys of the retreat, they told me, well, if you want, you can start your dieta tomorrow. And for the people that doesn't know, a dieta is you are going into isolation. You don't speak with people, you don't read books, you don't check the phone. You are just by your own in the jungle, taking plants like ayahuasca and other master plants of the jungle as well, and you enter into a kind of communion with these plants, and they start to teach you things through dreams. But it's very necessary that you don't put more noise in your head, that you don't interact with people, that is all needs to come from you. So I say, yes, let's start this, but imagine the situation, it's like kind of like the world, my family, what is going to happen in that moment. Nobody knew that if this is like a apocalypse zombie, I don't know, it's like everybody's going to die or not. But it was so profound to be dieting in that context, because, like in a way, it taught me how to be present, no? How to manage this fear, how to, yeah, don't get very obsessed about what if, no? Of course, I told my family, if something really serious happened, this is the phone of the leader of the retreat. If you are getting really sick or something, I will stop this. But as long that call, it was not, I was not receiving that call, I was going to keep going. So like in a way, we're like, okay, I'm good. It's like I feel okay. I'm doing what I love. This is amazing. So it was like a big teaching to having these ceremonies and all in this context. So that was for 15 days. And then I finished my first dieta that was supposed to finish that days, and I checked the phone, and it's like, okay, it's like they are extending the quarantine. So I called my family, it's like, I'm going to extend my diet as well. So I did another 15 days. So it was
Wow.
1 month in total, 1 month doing ceremonies ayahuasca every 4 days by, like, and that was completely life changing. Like I got to know so many things about myself, about nature, about, like my conception of the world was completely changed after that. And I knew when I finished that there was no coming back to my old life. And like the context around me was also pushing me to not come back. So in a way, it was easy to make that decision to stay because like I don't have job there. I don't have like I know like what I'm going to do. I'm in the jungle here. I'm free. We are isolated. It was like a, in a way, safe environment. But yes, that happened, and as I was saying, it completely changed my view on the world, on what I wanted to do, on what are the important things for me. I wanted to learn more about this culture, about these plants, about shamanism from there. So I stayed, and I just did that.
So I want to know about how many times in the 30 days did you drink ayahuasca, but also you mentioned staying and learning more about the culture. So what were the ceremonies being run by a specific indigenous culture?
Yeah, the retreat was led by Shipibos. That is like the culture that is more popular or more famous in the ayahuasca world. We were having ayahuasca ceremonies every 3 or 4 days during that month that I was in the dieta.
Hmm.
But more important than that, in the dieta, you have ayahuasca, but ayahuasca is not the main thing. You are dieting other plants. There are like thousands of plants in the Amazon that are not maybe psychedelics in the way that ayahuasca is, and they are not as famous. But a shaman, this is the process that you do when you want to become a shaman. They do it for months, for 6 months, even for years. Like this is like a short version that is not only necessary. I was not doing this because I wanted to become a shaman, and people that were there, you can do it also in these short versions. They are very helpful to heal things, psychological things, physical things. So there are different plants that the shaman knows because he died these plants already, and these plants, they have different purpose. So if you want to cure addictions, if you want to, you have like some maybe problems with your belly, with your digestion, if you have like problems with your bones, if you want to find your purpose, if you want to, maybe you feel that, yeah, you are depressed, like there are thousands of plants that you can use this is like a medical system of the Amazon.
Mm.
That's the medicine there. So to get the benefits of these plants are so subtle. This is that you need to be like really silent. You need to be really clean. It's like also like during this time you are eating really simple food, no salt, no any heavy meats, only chicken, no oil, no sugars. So like in a way that's also very depleting for your body. You become weak, you become, but it's part of the process because like the body is the mind. So as you become weak, a lot of barriers of your ego and things start to break up, and then you start to having, and in my case and in most of the cases, what is very important, like the way that you communicate with these other plants. Of course, the ceremonies will help you to connect with other plants, but it's through dreams. There is a you have really incredible dreams where you like go really deep into, really you're able to see your relationships, you're able to understand things like this in a way. It's like these plants speaks through the language of symbols and dreams. You kind of connect with the spirit of the plant. It's a mix between your own mythology and your own symbols and your own, the things that you consume during life, the stories that maybe like maybe the plant will appear like a person of a film or a comic character. It depends what's your background, no? It's like
Mm.
so, but you are able to recognize it, like, oh wait, that dream was weird. What was that figure there? Why was this? So they are teaching you, they are unblocking a lot of things. They are yeah, in a way, it's like you are speaking through them through this language of symbols. And you understand. It's a way of intuition. You are then during the day you are writing and journaling, and you are able to be very lucid about your problems and about your things. Of course, it's also very difficult, no? Like to be there alone, you get bored and bored and bored. But this boredom is key as well, no? It's like in a way, if you see how society is constructed, it's like all the consumerism and advertising, they don't want you to get bored. It's like that's I don't
It's like
because if you
constant stimulation.
exactly, it's like I cannot get bored. It's like, oh, I can just go with my own. It's like I'm not going to have a book or a film. But that's the key, no? Like when you get bored, it's because you are with yourself, and when you are with yourself and you pass through this boredom and through these things, like you start to listen to yourself, and you realize that most of the answers you are looking for are already there. That's not a joke, and that's what a lot of spiritual traditions always say. Like the wisdom is there. It's a question of remembering. It's a question of connecting with that. And truly that happened to me, like I was able to overcome a lot of problems, a lot of to have new understanding and compassion from relationships with my fathers, always the fathers, the mothers, the upbringing, all these things. I mean, it's not that they cure it, anything, but they give you the information, and it's like, okay, now I know. So then the work starts as well, applying this to your normal life, no? And I can see now in perspective how all my family relationships are completely changed. Like even I'm more farther away than ever from them because they are living in Spain. I'm from Spain. I feel more connected than ever, and I feel great. It's a path that never ends. Still walking that path, and I'm trying to apply these lessons the best I can. But it was really mind blowing, and like having this sensation of of that there is something. I don't know if it's the spirit of the plant or if myself or if it's a higher consciousness, but something that is also holding you and giving you the answers.
What did your family think when you went from originally you were supposed to stay for 15 days and then that turned into 3 years? How'd your family feel about that?
Well, my family had to learn with me that through me that I was not gay. The first thing I told them, I never mentioned I was going to the jungle to take psychedelic plants. I was to a meditation retreat or something like that. And then when I came out, I told them, look, I'm doing this plant, it's ayahuasca. Of course, my mother, the information he has in Spain from this is very satanized in a way, it's very, can you say, stigmatized.
Hmm.
And he thought that I was in a cult or something like that, like so. At the beginning, they thought that I was crazy, how I could quit my job in London, where I was having a successful career and things were going well, what I was doing in the jungle. But in a way, my first video, the documentary that I did first, called Psychedelic Pandemic, that speaks about this journey, when I show it to them, uh, she understood that, okay, something is happening. And then I think she felt a change in me as well, and she felt that I was a bit more open or connected to other things, to them and I think as they saw that I was feeling more happy and content with my life and less anxious. I don't know if we lost it. Okay.
Oh yeah, it
Yeah.
froze just a little bit, but I got you back now.
Uh, yeah. I was saying that they felt a change in me and they felt a positive change in me. And I think that in a way relaxed them a little bit.
Hmm.
But still a long way. It's another generation, and I don't think she will never understand. And because if you don't have these experiences, it's very difficult also to communicate to them. No?
Yeah. So you were before you went and still currently are a pretty successful filmmaker. You worked, is it true you worked with like Dr. Gabor Mate and Dennis
Mhm.
McKenna? And did that stuff come before or after your jungle trip?
No, before when I was in London, I was working for a podcast called, it was more than a podcast, it was like a media company called London Real. In a way, it was like the Joe Rogan version of the UK, and it was
Hmm.
with this guy called Brian Rose. He was the host, and he was having interviews with, yeah, all these people, yeah, like Wim Hof, Gabor Mate, Sadhguru, Ido Portal, people from all like very different people. Not it was not like just one theme. We have people from spirituality, business, fitness, martial arts, you name it, like, so we got very popular for a while. We got to have millions of views and subscribers, and I was working there as the creative director and filmmaker. I was in charge of the video production, and at some point we step up, and instead of just doing podcasts with the very best of our guests, we were doing documentaries. So we travel all around the world. We went to Israel to shoot with Ido Portal. That was I don't know if you know him, he trained Conor McGregor when he won the UFC.
Oh, wow.
We went to New York, we went to Spain, and one of them we went to Dennis Mckenna, one film called Reconnect. And that was actually the first time I tried ayahuasca, just before my trip in Costa Rica. Was with him doing this documentary. People can watch that documentary in my channel as well. And that was an amazing time. We was like 6 years in London, receiving all these people was completely mind blowing. Was very difficult also for me to make the decisions of, okay, I'm going to the jungle. It was very difficult to leave that work behind. It was making me very happy, and I'm so proud of the work we did in that company. Sadly, now you cannot see anything of this work because YouTube, the platform, the podcast, you can. It's
Really?
not. Yeah, it's not in YouTube anymore because during
Why
the
why did
pandemic,
why did it get deplatformed?
because when I was in the jungle, they were they were going a little bit crazy with the pandemic, and they got David Icke, that is a conspiracy theorist from the UK. He said things that the YouTube didn't like about the origin of the virus and about this and about that. Actually, the first time it was the first case that was like a YouTube censorship for a company. Like it
Mm,
was after a interview they had with them. So it was a long process, through a process of a few years, but they end up deplatforming them and deleting all the content, which was sad because, okay, you can have these controversial conversations, but there was much more content that was completely healthy content, no? Like our mission in that company was to empower people. It was a company where we were in the game of doing healthy media, conscious media. No, we were not until that point that they were not playing the game of being, like just another clickbaity, fear-based company. It was like
yeah.
very clean company, very clean content. And it's a pity that you cannot see it now, but there is a film that I helped them to make the couple of years ago where it's about all this process of the deplatforming. It's called We Will Not Be Silenced.
Okay.
And I think you can find it in X or some platforms that are not YouTube, this online.
And it's called We Will Not Be Silenced.
You will not be silenced.
Okay, cool. People should search for that if they're
Mm-hmm.
interested. And so how cool is that? Your first time doing ayahuasca, you were doing a documentary and you got to drink ayahuasca with Dennis McKenna. What was that like?
Well, that was a trip itself. I mean, I was familiar with Terrence and Dennis since I was 20 years old. They were like fundamental mentors. I mean, of course, through the books, but like completely changed my vision. They open up a new world for me. I was always very interested in psychedelics, so my mushroom trips, I was always listening Terrence after the trips, and like I was fanboy number one of Terrence and his brother. Years after, I found myself in the position that first we have Dennis McKenna as a guest in the show, and I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. So since that moment, I start to think about what can we do with him now that we have the connection with him. He really liked us as well. The interview went viral. It was an amazing interview we did with him. So we start to create this project that took a few years to write and to make it happen. Finally, we are traveling to Costa Rica because Dennis is holding a retreat there in a retreat space called Soltara. It was very famous now, but it was not open yet in that period. And suddenly I'm filming an ayahuasca film with Dennis Mckenna, and of course the last day of the filming, that was my introduction to ayahuasca. Even I was familiar with psychedelics before, but it was there. And actually was doing that film and interviewing the shaman of that film. That was the first time that I heard about this process of the dieta. The
Hmm.
shaman told me. I asked him, "How do you become a shaman?" He's like, "Well, so you go into the jungle, you go into the isolation for months, and then you start to speak with the plants." I say, "What?" Say, "Yes, you have dreams, and the plants teaching you these songs into the dreams. That's the songs that I'm using in the ceremonies are taught by the plants in dreams." I was like, "Wow!" Like, can I do that? I really want to do that. But in that moment, I thought that that's something that for a European like me, like I'm going to the jungle, I'm going to be eaten by jaguars. What can I do? I'm not like, what's an idea that was planted in me, but I say like, can I do this? I didn't know. It's like, can a foreigner do this? And then by serendipity, when I was in the office and I was finishing the film editing and I was in Facebook and something popped up and it was at this retreat center that was offering dietas. It's like, okay, I booked it that day instantly and then,
Wow.
and then all happened.
So
But yeah, then it's,
what year
so
did you
yeah,
do what year did you do the film with Dennis, and what year were you at Soltara?
The film took a few years to produce. I think originally we went to Soltara in 2018. We filmed that summer. Then we had this filmation that was amazing. Was the ceremonies. I mean, the film follows the journey of Brian, that was the host of London Real. He is going to do the ayahuasca ceremonies. Um, and we had this part with Dennis, but then it's like we both knew that we didn't want to just make a film about going to a retreat center of ayahuasca. There was like a lot of films like that. So we struggle a little bit about what is going to be next, no? So, but then as time passed, it became obvious that the film was not just the going to have the ceremony, but also the integration part.
Hmm.
What happens after the ceremony? How do you apply these lessons when you come back to a city like London? It's compatible or not. So as life was happening and Brian was struggling to applying some of these lessons that are so clear when you're living in the jungle, and but then you come back to the grind and it's difficult, it's different, no? So time passed, maybe another year passed, and we were filming different things. Also, we include a lot of guests that were coming into the show because Brian, in a way, was doing integration with the guests there. We have Gabor Mate, and he was telling about the ceremonies that he had. So Gabor Mate is counseling him, and like it's like an amazing and unique film because it's also like the platform and the network is in the film. So another year passed, and we finished the film at the end of 2019. I think we premiered at the end of 2019, and that's when I took the decision. Okay, I finished this film. Now I'm going to have my holidays.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
what happened. All the adventure that I was speaking about before about they are going to the Amazon and all of that.
That's amazing. And the film, can people find it? And it did pretty well, right?
Yeah.
Did it win? It won some awards.
Yeah. The film did pretty well before it was deleted, got millions of views. Now I upload it to my channel, so you can find it through my channel called Dissolution is my channel. The film is called Reconnect. If you put Reconnect Ayahuasca documentary in YouTube, it should pop up. And through
Okay.
there, you can go to my work as well and see other of my videos. But yeah, as I was saying, the original video was deleted, and The one I have just have a couple of thousands of views, but it was big. It was big, and we premiered it in London, in New York. It was really amazing. And with Dennis, yes, it was amazing, amazing for me. Magic, like to spend weeks with them. And since then, we have a friendship. We're collaborating in different projects. I'm involved with his McKenna Academy, that is a foundation that studies and promotes the good use of psychedelic plants and initiatives. So I can call him a friend. We're just going to make a, they are going to make now a conference here in the Sacred Valley about the coca leaf. And I'm going to be supporting them as well. So that relationship is still going on, and I'm very grateful to have him on my life.
Interesting. So you said they're doing a project about the coca leaf?
Mhm. So they are doing a summit, a kind of conference where they're inviting people, uh, really big names, anthropologists like Wade Davis, nutritionists, and people in drug policies. It's big, a big conference that they are going to do here in February. They are going to be trying to have new conversations about this plant, coca plant, that everybody knows it for cocaine and for the drug world. But coca is a sacred plant here in the Andes and in a lot of parts of the territory, Bolivia, and this is a plant that is being used for millennia. Is part of the culture, but it's also part, I think, will say, like of the survival of these cultures, because like here in the mountains, sometimes there is not a lot to eat, and coca is like very nutritious plant, and people here is just chewing it every day, and they are also using this plant as a way to give offerings, to connect with the land. It's really important here, and also it's really beneficial. It's a plant that it's an amazing plant in a way that the nutrition aspects of them and it's all benefits. So I think they're going to try to change the conversation, and let's see what happens there.
Yeah, that's interesting that they're trying to change the conversation because I guess a lot of Western people hear coca leaf and they just think cocaine, but that's kind
Hmm.
of like a smashed up and messed up
Exactly.
version. And
Ex-
there's, I guess,
Exactly. It's
yeah,
cocaine or Coca-Cola.
yeah,
Coca-Cola originally also took it from the plant, but it's very interesting what happens, like because these are master plants, power plants, and they know that every here that these plants are very powerful. But also, like all shamans, they will say like the plant, every plant has two sides, even ayahuasca and everyone. Like if you use it correctly, it's going to lead you in the right way. If you use it incorrectly, it's also going to give you what you ask. So it's your intentions with the plant. So it's very interesting what happens with when people approach these plants maybe with the wrong mindset, or with maybe some, yeah, like to make drugs, to sell Coca-Cola. Or same happens with tobacco. No, tobacco is another sacred plant, and look, but it's interesting to see how these plants also are playing in the global scene, and how are seen as poisons, very powerful poisons. But like the same capacity that they have to harm, they also have it to do well, to be medicines if we use them well. But the Western world just got it wrong, and they start to exploit and abuse these plants, and the results of it are millions of deaths every day, the narco traffic, and all these horrors. So yeah, it's very interesting how these energies can also are playing in the big stage of the world.
yeah, it's actually fascinating that you mentioned tobacco because that's another one where the Western world, most Western people and a lot of people listening to this, they hear tobacco and they just think of cigarettes and unhealthy. But I actually just had a guest on last week who was talking about how there was research that nicotine COVID, like the receptors
Hmm.
that receive COVID, actually, if you have nicotine in your system, that it can protect you and make COVID not as harsh on you. And there's, I think people forget that there's other ways to consume or receive nicotine that's not smoking cigarettes.
Definitely, yeah, yeah, yeah. And also, I think there are some studies about Alzheimer and all these things, and how nicotine and even coffee can help there. Yes, it's how they use it. But if you see in all the indigenous tradition, when they approach coca and they approach tobacco, it's always with a big container. It's like they know that these guys are powerful. So you approach them with total respect in a ceremonial way. It's not that you are like doing what we're doing with them. So when you use it correctly, it will give you the benefits. And tobacco, I personally work with tobacco, and it's my path lately doing dietas, and like it's horrible to try. You drink it, like you don't even need to smoke it. You drink it, and like, but it's a very powerful medicine, and it's the main shamanic plant in all Americas, like all throughout the territory. If you go to the indigenous tradition, they were using tobacco, and it's probably the most powerful shamanic plant that exists. Like a lot of people here, like also say that you cannot do ayahuasca if you don't have tobacco to protect you, to use you, to pray. So yeah, it's unfortunately people think in cigarettes and tobacco, but probably in a cigarette, the tobacco is the only healthy thing that you are that you are taking. Like all the rest of the stuff that the tobacco has is what is killing you. So like when people smoke tobacco here, it's usually the plant dried into the sun, and you smoke it with very respect, and there is a lot of systems to also not get addicted or trapped into the plant. No, it's like so when you try to bypass all these things, and you just want the benefits of the plant, then you start to get into the addiction and to all these problems. But like there is another layer that is the respect, the spiritual layer that is needed to when you are dealing with these powerful allies, because they can be allies, not just poisons.
Yeah, I think people in the West are starting to learn that you people will use young people like in college will use like a nicotine patch rather than taking Adderall for focus.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
I'm curious, you mentioned that you're working with tobacco, but you're not smoking it. So like in what way are you working with it? And can you share like a little bit like
Yeah, yeah.
what does it do for you?
Well, I smoke it as well, through tobacco, but like it's interesting that when you go to a tabaquero, that is how it will be like the shaman of tobacco, in lack of a better term, it's called tabaquero. And what they give to you is tobacco infused in water. So you can do this in different ways. Sometimes it's just like a purgativo. It makes you purge. So that's the first use will be like sometimes they use it before the ayahuasca ceremony, or maybe because you want to purge. So it's a kind of clean. It's horrible. You taste this, it hurts, it burns your belly, you suffer for 3 hours, you're puking all 4 hours, 4 hours, but then you feel like more balanced in a way. I think it's like these purges are also help you to release a lot of trauma, a lot of energy blocks and stuff like that. But also what I was doing lately and what I'm doing lately is the same process that I was describing of dietas, the same with tobacco. So you basically go in isolation, and you are drinking this every day. You're purging every day. You are in isolation. And then in my case as well, the dreams there are so shamanic. So like it's in a way, for me, tobacco really teaches energetic education in a way. Like it teaches you how to protect your energies, how to deal with your energies, how to get in tune with your energies, how to block other energies. So it's very useful as well for people that works in the space of the plant medicine, because maybe you're in ceremony and it helps you to detect possible things that are trying to attach into you or something like that. So you can do it, you can diet tobacco as well, and you drink it. And then as well, you are smoking, no? It's like you smoke big cigarettes, as we're saying, like use pure tobacco. But when you smoke, it's not that you are smoking and you are talking with friends and you are like just in a recreative way. You are praying. You are use tobacco as a way, like, okay, I'm smoking, but it's a way of also getting center, getting silence to receive, to try to connect with the spirit. It's also a ritual. You are smoking it in a very ritualized way.
Hmm.
So so yeah, it's a really, really powerful plant. And like it's like since I left the jungle, I kind of feel that my path now is with tobacco, because as well I feel like it's an energy that is very grounded in a way, like really helps you to order things and to put your mind in the right place to get things done, and to I found it a bit more grounding than ayahuasca. That in my case, ayahuasca is amazing and gives me a lot of insights, but sometimes it's very chaotic. It's too much. It goes, and my mind is already like that, very airy. So sometimes ayahuasca can create much more confusion for me than for example tobacco does. Tobacco goes straight to the point in my
Hmm.
experience.
Hmm. And most people who are smoking it like in a spiritual way, are they inhaling it or?
Well, you can inhale it, but not advisable at the beginning. What use you use it a bit like you smoke it like a cigar.
Yeah.
You put it in your mouth and then you blow it, and you can blow it over your body. You can protect you, as I was saying. Like here is they think that is like a protector of the energy, and also protector of the energy of the spaces, no? Like maybe in your home, you can clean it, and you clean it with tobacco. In
Hmm.
ceremony, for example, after a ceremony, always blow in tobacco just to dissipate all that energy. But as well, you can small and you can inhale it. It requires a little bit more of practice because it's strong. But there are different ways to inhale it. There are different ways to work with it. And like it's a plant that also in the jungle, for example, they inhale it and they blow it here a few times, and then they create like a small paste, and with that paste you can cure little wounds or mosquito bites, or it has all these crazy uses, like also very practical. So it's very useful to have there as well for the mosquitoes, no? When you're in the jungle, you just blow tobacco, and the mosquitoes won't get to you. So yes, it's one of the weapons that you need to have always in your pocket when you're in the jungle, because it's very
Yeah.
useful.
And you mentioned when you're drinking it, it's quite a purgative for our Western audience who's thinking like, why would you want to vomit? You know, the thing that comes to my mind is just on a physical level is, there's science coming out now that we're basically like consuming and we're full of like microplastics. So I'm wondering if it could be helping to remove some of that stuff.
Yes, I mean, I can speak from experience, but like when you purge, and same happened with ayahuasca, like it's like sometimes it's seen like, okay, it's like a side effect. You take this and you purge. No, it's not a side effect, it's the main effect. No, it's like so survival as game, like very practical things. Like at the beginning, I think when people were in the jungle and using ayahuasca in the jungle, there is a lot of parasites that you can get in your body, no? Like so, like these medicines but that's why there is so much purgative medicine in the Amazon, for example, because from a practical point of view, they help you to remove all these things. But as you were saying, like when you're having this purge, it comes from a very deep place. It's not like when you are drunk and you purge and you vomit. No, you really feel that things from your guts are getting out, and like you are renewing all this flora, or I don't all this, as you were saying, all this really, it's like a car, no? Like you really clean the engine, and then
Yeah.
it work really. You feel lighter, and you feel, and also it's not just physical, no? Like a lot of medicine systems like Chinese or in the Amazon jungle as well. And also now I think science more and more are talking about this second brain that is the belly, and that
Hmm.
is a brain where you hold emotions, where you hold also like related with the chakra system, a lot of these things, no? Like you hold your emotions, you hold your traumas in a way, you hold all these blocks. So as well, like these purge also help you to release that, help you to kind of release that. And you sometimes in ayahuasca you are purging, and you are seeing in the vision what is coming out in a way, like okay, this is like I'm purging the pain because my father was absent, and you are feeling that these things are coming out and are helping that, like that. So it's a personal experience, but But definitely, I think that the Western world has this phobia to purge. But like as I experienced in the Amazon is very normal, and it's part of any treatment. Like
Yeah.
the first thing that they do is like, okay, before we start to work with plants, we need to clean you up. We need to get your system ready. And for example, in a diet like tobacco, I'm purging every day during 7 days, and it's horrible and it's painful, and also it's like a struggle. And you also need to learn to you also learn through this struggle, no? Like and to trust your body, and then yeah, like it works because then you feel like renewed. You feel that things are aligned in a spiritual and in a physical level.
Yeah, and it's finally being talked about more in the West now, how trauma gets held in the body. So,
Mm-hmm.
people think that purging or vomiting is purely a physical cleaning thing, but just like you were saying, like in an ayahuasca ceremony, you can see like what pain and suffering and trauma it's really taking out of you. And in the West, people are like therapists are finally putting books out about how the trauma gets stored in the body, and so
Mm-hmm.
that makes a lot of sense. You mentioned how they say that all plants have two sides, a good and a bad side. um you've obviously lived in the jungle for many years, and so would you agree that there can be dangers to working with a lot of the plants and a lot of psychedelics as
Totally,
well? Yeah.
totally. I totally agree with that because I saw it, I experienced it in my life, and like there is all kind of dangers. Like it's like ayahuasca is not what people think it is. No, like there is like these ayahuasca tourists and all the retreat space. They sell you this vision that ayahuasca will remove your traumas and is an agent of light and blah blah blah. But that's not the local reality, no? Like in the Amazonian shamanism, there are curanderos that are like the good shamans, and there are brujos or people that is like witchcraft. And like even starting from there, like there are bad shamans like the Siths in the Star Wars, that they are using the Force for wrong reason and to do harm. So you can hire one of these guys and say like, look, my neighbor is a pain in the ass. I don't want my neighbor. Can you do something to him? Can you make some harm? And these guys will get into a ceremony with ayahuasca, and they will conjure all these entities or things, and maybe they send him like a spell, or how you see, like a spell or like something. Okay, this guy is going to have bad luck. Oh, wow, my wife is about to leave me. Can you do something about this? It's like, yes. And they do into ceremonies, and they use plants to do this kind of rituals. So starting from there, you never heard about this in the in the retreat websites, but like starting from there, like you need to know very well who are you sitting with, because you don't know if the guy that you are sitting with is a curandero or is a brujo. And sometimes are both. Sometimes are both. Sometimes the same guy that helps people also can harm people. So this idea of the curandero as a guru and as a spiritual being that is perfect in the Amazon doesn't exist. This is something that the Western mind brought, and this guru culture are projecting into this figure of the shaman that doesn't have anything to do with that.
Hmm.
And that's starting from that. So that's in a much more like a witchcraft vision, but also like in the space of ayahuasca, from a much more psychological point of view, like a lot of abuse happens and can happen, no? Like it's like you have people that in a very vulnerable state, open by the use of very powerful plants. And like imagine that if we have problems in the Western world in a clinic with in the relationship with a psychiatrist, or yeah, I got you. If
Okay.
if we have already have power problems with the power relationship with our psychiatrist, here is wild because you have people very open, And you have people there that, as I was saying, maybe are projecting into the shaman what the shaman is not, and there is a lot of confusion, and it can be a lot of abuse in many ways, not just sexual abuse, can be abuse of shamans that are talking with people. Yes, come to my place. You are going to become you're going to become a shaman. I will train you. You need to give me the money. There is a lot of these things. And also, if you are going to the ayahuasca space, but you are a bad person, you are somebody that has maybe problems with ego, you are egomaniac, ayahuasca most of the times is going to just empower that in you, and it's going to, okay, yes, you are the king, you are this, like, so all these things that people say, ayahuasca told me is very dangerous, because it's not ayahuasca telling you. There is a lot of things, there is a lot of projections, there is a lot of self dynamics there that also need to be watched by somebody that is trustful, that somebody that is with you, that if you are going into these paths, has the guts to say you, hey, you are getting here a little bit crazy with this thing that you received yesterday, no? And if you don't have these guides with you, if you don't, or if you don't have, because you cannot see yourself a lot of times, no? So yes, ayahuasca tourism and the ayahuasca phenomenon is a really double-edged sword, and
Yeah.
has a lot of good things, but also it's very dangerous to go to a random place and to do it with random people, because as I was saying, like, even in an energetic way, you don't know if the shaman is messing up with you, and I saw that, and I saw a lot of bad things going wrong in the space as well. Also, I saw a lot of things going well, no, but yeah, it's not a free for all and a Disney World and everything that can be solved by ayahuasca. I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think people can do to watch out for sort of like the bad side, if you will?
Well, I think one of the best advice is never go to a place if you don't have a recommendation from somebody that was already there. But then another useful thing for me is like, okay, who is serving the medicine? How can I tell if that guy is aligned? I always look how he's treating his family, how his relationship with money, and how his relationship with the community around, how he leads his life. Is he, like, because that already will tell you a lot, no? Like, so yes, it's tricky. It's tricky, but I will say, yeah, that advice, never go to a place if you don't have a direct recommendation from somebody that you trust, that
Hmm.
that place is okay. And also, it's like, don't expect ayahuasca to solve all your problems, no? Like, there is a lot of things that you need to start to do now. You need to start to put your life in balance before and after the ceremony, no? Like, so the work is there. The ceremony will show you things and everything, but like, the more you start to put already, like, start to apply compassion now, not wait after the ceremony. Start to yeah, what the Buddhists call create merit, no? Like, you can, it's the same happening in Buddhism, no? Like, you can meditate for hours per day, but if you are not having a life where you are able to live with compassion, with love for others, with some kind of practices that or is not point, it's not going to help you. So start there. um yeah, yes. It's the Wild West. Yeah, the
Yeah.
ayahuasca tourism. So really be mindful who are you sharing your energy and your medicine with.
Yeah, well said. So you're staying in Peru for the foreseeable. I know you made a film with some of my friends from the
Mhm.
podcast, Luke Jensen and Chinzia. Can you tell us a little bit about the documentary that you guys made and also like anything else that you're currently working on?
Yeah. Yeah, I met Luke and Cynthia in the valley. We met in Jiu-Jitsu. We shared that practice, and Luke has an amazing idea of mixing. brain mapping and neuroscience technology with plant medicine. So in a way, she's supporting the work of the plant medicine through technology and through practices outside the ceremony that relate to all these things that I was saying before, not like how to keep doing the work, how to continue with these lessons once the ceremony finishes. And it happened very organically. I was here, we start to hang out. Okay, I'm a filmmaker. Okay, you have an amazing project. Let's start to do things. And suddenly we decide to film what was going to happen in one of his retreats. So an old friend of him, a veteran, was coming, and it looked like a great opportunity. So we start to film with, of course, you can plan and you can have an idea of things that are going to happen in the retreat, but you never know. So we documented the whole story. We documented the whole retreat, a very special retreat because they do martial arts, they do the neuroscience practice, they do hikes into these mountains of the Sacred Valley that are sacred mountains that are almost pilgrimage. So we made this film called Cross Paths. It's about to be released soon in YouTube and in online platforms. And it's a bit documenting the work that Luke and Cynthia are doing. They are amazing, and I think it's revolutionary what they are doing. So yeah, I hope everybody can enjoy it soon. But yeah, it's about to be released.
Yeah, I think the brain mapping stuff is so cool. I actually talked to Luke about maybe sending myself some of the gear and just doing some
Mhm.
of the practice myself from home. I think it's really interesting stuff. Have you tried it?
No, but yes, I was scanned before and after a retreat, but I haven't tried the neurofeedback training, and that's
Uh-huh.
really interesting. No, so I think is what you are
Yeah.
mentioning now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of in the movie they say no, like it's electronic yoga. This is a way to it's the same way that you are doing with meditation. You are training your brain waves to be present, to be there. But there you have the technology that helps you, and also I think it connects with our culture. No, we are technological people. We are not living in the Himalayas. We love our gadgets, and I think it really speaks to our culture. So yeah, I'm looking forward to try it because yes, it looks amazing. They say that also like training yourself in these hypnagogic states that is half awake and half asleep. A lot of creative ideas and creativity start to appear. So I never tried with the machines. I tried with through yoga and through meditation, but yeah, looking forward to have that opportunity soon.
Yeah. Do you mind, and totally fine if you say no, but do you mind sharing at all? When you said you did a brain map before and after a ceremony, can you share like what
I,
yours looked like before and after?
Yeah, I did it before and after a dieta with tobacco. And I
Uh-huh.
think that's a study that Luke hasn't published yet, but it was the first time that they were doing this with tobacco. So
Yeah.
I map my brain before the dieta start, and then I spent 7 days in isolation doing the dieta of tobacco and doing all of this. And I had one after, and of course the changes are huge in terms of like. I was also very busy in that moment because I was doing a film in the jungle. If we have time, I will talk a little bit about my last film. I was a really busy period of my life. I was having also a lot of intrusive fear thoughts about the future, obsessing about the future, and you could see that being reduced a lot in the pre and post maps. Also, like I was 1 week with no stimulation and all of this, so it was amazing. Like huge changes, and I hope that Luke publishes that study very soon because he did it with more people there. So
Very
yeah,
cool.
was great.
Very cool. So you mentioned your last film. Tell me a little bit about that.
So yes, I think it can be a good way to wrap it up. And in a way, this film is a way to wrap up all this jungle period that I have, where through all these years living in the jungle, we received so much. We received so much gifts from the plants, from the people we work with, from our friends we met there, the stories, the folklore, the medicines. And me and my girlfriend that also lived with me in the jungle, we say like, wow, it's like, what are we going to give back to this culture? No, what is going to be our offering? Because one of the things that you learn in the jungle is the concept of reciprocity. Like you take something and you give something back. It's like in all the indigenous traditions all over the world, they really understand this that we forgot, no? Like this act of giving back. So we had this idea. We're going to give him back in the form of offering, using our creativity, using a film. We create a story, and it's a fiction film. It's a short film, and it's a story about a girl that lives in the jungle, that 10-year-old girl, and this girl has communication problems with humans, but she really speaks the language of the plants and stuff like that. So we went to the jungle, we spent all our savings, we trained non-professional actors for months. We've been dealing with humidity, mosquitoes, rain, and we already film it. We have it on the cam, but now we are raising funds for the post-production. The movie is called Yuriana's Garden, and it's going to be amazing. We're so happy. We are in the middle of our crowdfunding campaign right now, and we are doing so well. So very soon you will see it published, maybe early next year in the first quarter.
Cool. That sounds awesome. I'm very curious. Is it going to be like, I'm guessing it's all live action, but in my mind I was picturing like some animation with it, or
Yeah, it's
is
very,
there
very
any?
ambitious. We have special effects for the plants, and it's a magical realism. It's more like fantasy, using a lot of the stories and the folklore of the jungle. It's an amazing story, and for me, it's very interesting because a lot of the media that is done about the Amazon is always through the documentary lens, and this is like a story with a hero's journey and with kids as protagonists, and it's like a tale, no? So it's very powerful, and we're so happy. I will put the links in the comments if people wants to see the trailer or stuff like that.
Yeah, please make sure you send me the link to that and I'll put it down
Uh-huh.
below. And you said it's called Juliana's Garden?
Yuriana's Garden, yeah.
And
Yuriana is the name of the girl.
okay, and when it comes out, you said early next year, is it going to be like online or in festivals, or will you have to just let us know?
Yeah, we will try to put it in some festivals before publishing online, but at some point I will publish it online with all the rest of my content in my channel. But already you can watch, we've been also documenting all this journey and doing a documentary making of behind the scenes that is an adventure itself. That's already in my channel if people wants to see it. So we will put it on the links, and people can have a taste.
Yeah, amazing. So as we kind of get close to wrapping up here, let us know like what is your channel, and I'll definitely put it in the links, but just tell people as well what is your channel and where can they find you if they want like more info.
Yeah, my channel is called Dissolution, and it's a little bit of a diary of my adventures. I have documentaries, I have podcasts. As I'm learning from people from this culture, I'm trying to share my journey so they can find it in YouTube. That's Dissolution, and my name. It's a little tricky to find sometimes because there is a lot of dissolution things popping up, but probably through the links that you're putting is going to be the best. And there is where I have my space, and where I put a lot of content. So if people are resonating with some of the themes that we're talking here, I'm sure they will find something in the channel. It's in Spanish, but most of my content is also with English subtitles, so people, yeah, from all over the world can watch it.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, my friend. I think we'll leave it there.